Okay. The last things we were learning in Muktza. Is what's called tiltum and atzad. Just to review a little bit. So we learned that if you have, let's say this would be a completely Muktza object, and you want to move it. So let's say I want to move it indirectly. So how would I move it? Let's say this wouldn't be Muktza. I would move it like this. Okay? So then we learned the din is, if you're moving it for the benefit of the Muktza object, then you're not allowed to. For instance, if let's say you have money, which is real Muktza, and the money's in the way, whatever, and you want to move the money because you want to protect the money. Okay, let's say you find Muktza in the street and you want to push it off indirectly with something, why that you should be able to go later, hopefully, and find the money. So then you're not allowed to. But if you're moving it indirectly, not for the sake of the Muktza, but let's say you need the place, and this is in my way, so I'm moving it out of the way. It's not because I want to save the money that's in here. I need the place, so I'm moving it indirectly with something that's not Muktza, so then you would be allowed to. That's called Muktza Kalachar Yad. Kalachar Yad means backhandedly, not the normal way of doing it. But then there's another level of Muktza that you tiltum and atzad, meaning what happens if you're not moving it with your hand indirectly, but you're moving it with your foot, you're moving it with your elbow, you're moving it with whatever it is. So we learned there's a halachic in halacha if you're moving it for the Muktza, if you're allowed to do it or not. We learned the Alter Rebbe is lenient, and the Alter Rebbe and Magen Avraham hold that if you're moving it not with your hand indirectly, but you're moving with your foot, your elbow, or like we said, it's another interesting machlekes about blowing. It's also machlekes. Is blowing in halacha, is blowing considered backhanded or like with your elbow or your foot? And again, the Alter Rebbe is lenient, and the Alter Rebbe holds that you could move it blowing it.
With the money you can move with your foot. Right?
You can move money with your foot. Again, if you want, let's say there's money on the floor here, right? So if you need the place, everybody says you'd be allowed to move it with your foot. But what happens, you don't need the place, you just want to save the money.
How far can you move it, Rabbi, if you're in the street?
No, in the street you can't move it more than Daled Amis, so you can't move it from Rishus HaYochad to Rishus HaRabim, or you can't even move it from Rishus HaRabim to a Carmelis. We don't.
How many feet is that?
You can move it up to 6 feet in the street.
Mm-hmm.
With your foot, not...
How about if you move 6 feet and then you move another 6 feet?
Okay, there are ways of doing that, but let's not...
No, what'd you say? What was the limit?
Move for 6 feet and then you move another 6 feet.
There are stories like that in halacha, by the way. There's a famous story in the previous Rebbe's memoirs, in the Zechrenis. In the time of the Alter Rebbe, there was a big fight if women should learn Torah or not. It's machlekes in the Mishnah, in Kedushin. Ben Azai says, well, he teaches his wife Torah, women Torah ki melamed tiflis. It's like he teach him corruption. Okay, so many people hold that women are not allowed to study Torah. I'm talking about today, it's a whole different story. I'll get to that in a second. But what happened years ago, 200 years ago, 250 or 250 years ago, there's a big argument based on the Mishnah, if you're allowed to teach women Torah. So in the Chassidish world, they did. The disciples of the Baal Shem Tov did. And in the Litvish world, they didn't. And the Alter Rebbe had a grandmother, her name was... whatever, his mother or grandmother, remember, that her father taught her Torah. She knew how to learn extremely well, but her own husband didn't even know that she knew how to learn. She used to learn when the husband was away, she used to learn with her father. But she knew halacha, really well. And one time there was a story, they were walking home from shul, everybody's carrying, it's a small shtetl, right? Everybody's walking home with the talesim and the svarim, and the men are walking, the women are walking. All of a sudden, somebody comes screaming, the Erev is broken. The Erev broke. So all the scholars of the city, they knew a lot of Gemara, but they didn't know practical halacha. Even today, a lot of pilpul, but they don't know practical halacha. So the Rebbe the father of the girl turned to his daughter and he says, "What's the halacha?" And all the men were shocked because none of them knew she knew how to learn. So she said, "What you should do is everybody should hand the talis and the svarim who carried less than 2 amas, less than 4 amas, like 3 amas, and then hand it to somebody else, and hand it to somebody else, and hand it to somebody else." Until they come to the house and then try to get a guy to bring it into us, whatever. None of the men knew if she was right or not. So they went home, they looked up the halacha and they saw the mamish that was the din. It's called pachas medal eramis. There's a mishnah in Shabbat also, sometimes a chacham will make it to carry less than 4 amas stop, less than 4 amas, because it's only with Rabbanon, and in certain cases you would be allowed to because, huh? Her father wanted her to say it. Anyway, but what?
Rebbe's wife also, Rebbe's.
I never tested her, but
I heard it was a daughter, mother, Alter Rebbe's daughter.
no, what? What? No, the concept of Eruv is one of the seven mitzvahs Rabbanon. The shaila, what Eruv you're talking about? You're talking about Eruv Tchumim, Eruv Tavshilin. Those are midrabanan, mitzvahs of midrabanan. Therefore, when you make an Eruv Tavshilin, you make a bracha shek Shem mitzvah mitzvah seidav. When you make Eruv Tanchumim, Tchumim, I mean, when you want to go outside the city more than 2,000 amas and you put food there, and then you can go another 2,000 amas, so then you make a bracha Eruv Tchumim, a mitzvah seidav. This is you make an Eruv around the city or around the courtyard or whatever it is, that's not a mitzvah of Eruv. You don't make a bracha on that. That's called Eruv, it's a different concept. Eruv is, what you're doing is, you're making all of it into a private domain. Like for instance, if this wouldn't be fenced all around, this property, right? Or if the gate would be left open, because it's more than 10 amas, it's more than 15 feet, right? So let's say that gate would be open before Shabbat started. Okay? You wouldn't be allowed to carry, forget the Eruv in the city, but you wouldn't be allowed to carry it in this backyard. So now you make a fence or 2 sticks with a string on top, what's called an Eruv, so then you're just enclosing the area, you're building walls. So it's not, it's not a mitzvah of Eruv. You're just making it carryable, that you're allowed to carry, but it's not a mitzvah of Eruv. You don't make a bracha on such an Eruv. So that's nothing to do with the mitzvahs of Eruv. But Eruv Tchum, Eruv Tavshilin, that's one of the 7 mitzvahs of Neneach. But there's a mitzvah of the Rabbanon. These parshas are 7 mitzvahs of Neneach. Okay. So we learned like this, blowing Muktza. Okay, in touching Muktza, we also said you're allowed to touch Muktza unless, we said last time, an egg which was laid on Yom Tov for Shabbos, which is Muktza. So because an egg is round or oval, when you touch it, it moves, so you're not allowed to touch it either. Or if there's, let's say, a candelabra hanging, okay? And then when you touch it, it would move, and that, let's say, would be Muktza. So then you wouldn't be allowed to touch it either, because then you're moving it. Okay, that's what, okay, now, what happens if by mistake somebody's touching Muktza? Or let's, before we go into that, we learned that a keli shemlachte le'isr, like a pen, right, whose primary use is for something forbidden. So you're allowed to move it, seir gufay u'mekaymei. Either if you need the place, or if you want to do something permissible with it. If you want to use it as a bookmarker, whatever. Okay? So then you're allowed to move it. But let's say I'm moving it because I need this place. Let's say this is a keli shemlachte le'isr. Let's say it's not, but let's say it is. And now I need this place. So now I want to move it off it. Yeah? Do I have to drop it right after the place that I need? Or once it's in my hand already, I can carry it to wherever I want? So the name of once it's in my hand already, especially if it's a permissible reason for moving it, so I can put it down wherever I want. I don't have to drop it at the first available place, No, not even to break it. I mean, if it just... let's say I want to let's say it belongs in the back, and I take it off here, and I'm allowed to take it off here. I don't have to put it here. I can put it back in the back where it belongs. Once it's in my hand already, I'm allowed to continue carrying it. But now the shaila is, what happens if something is real muktza? Like a stone. And I picked up a stone.
By mistake.
By mistake. Or for that matter, if somebody, whatever, did it. So now the question is, do you have to drop it as soon as you realize it, or not? So there's a few issues to keep in mind. Number one, am I mechuyev to drop it right away, or once it's in my hand right, I can carry it? So many poskim hold that once it's in your hand, it's real muktza, you have to drop it. Other poskim in that hold, but if there'll be a loss of money, like, oh, it's going to break, okay, you have something, muktza machson kiss, we learned, something very expensive. If I take it off, it's in my hand, and I just drop it, so then it's going to be a hefsid of moment. So then everybody says you don't, most people say you don't have to. But what happens if I have real muktza in my hand, money in my hand, and do I have to drop it right away? So many poskim hold you have to drop it right away. The Magen Avraham, the Alter Rebbe again are mekel, and they said once it's in your hand already, you can take it to where it belongs. What? Precious stone, like diamonds, you mean? It depends. It's made into a necklace or not? Loose ones. They're not valuable. I mean, they're valuable, but it's like money. That would be muktza. Yeah. And it would also be muktza machsar and kiss, because you don't let them laying around anywhere. You're in a designated place, you want to make sure that they should be a safe place. So those would be completely muktza. Unless, if somebody, I'll give you a simple example. Money is real muktza. Okay? Money is not a keli in halacha, it's completely muktza. But what if somebody has a gold coin? Gold coin is money, basically. And now I made it into a necklace. So we learned already when we started learning muktza, that even real muktza, if you designate it before Shabbos, to use on a permanent basis, not just for Shabbos, on a permanent basis, so then it's not muktza anymore. Many people, there's a new thing in Lubavitch with the girls, they have Rebbe dimes, that the Rebbe used to give out dimes to kids to give tzedakah, so they would keep the dimes and they would put another dime into the pushka. So now a lot of girls have dimes from the Rebbe, and they make it into a necklace. I have a bunch of kids, grandkids, that have Rebbe dimes, that they made actually a necklace out of it, and it's not muktza. In fact, there's something called a kameya. Here's an interesting story also with that. There's something called a kameya. In English, it's called an amulet. It's a good luck thing. So there's a story during the Korean War. The Rebbe was already Rebbe, and a chassid had to go to the Korean War. By the way, he was drafted, and he went into the previous Rebbe. And the previous Rebbe gave him a coin, and he said to sew it into his talis cotton as a kameya, to protect him. So this guy was a young guy. He went over to an elder chassid who was a big rav in Lubavitch, and he asked him, "What's with Shabbos? Can I wear this sewn into the garment? But can I wear it on Shabbos?" So he told him no. He said you shouldn't wear it on Shabbos. And the previous Rebbe heard about it, and he called him the older chassid. He said, "This is the way the story goes." And he said, "It's about time," Yiddish, but he said, "It's about time a Jew with a white beard should understand that for my kameyas, for my things, there's no chilul Shabbos. Because there's a din in Shulchan Aruch, in the laws of carrying, that there's what's called kameya mumcha, meaning a kameya of an expert. That means it works, it's guaranteed that it works. So you have a kameya that these yokels, give out good luck charms, So there's a din in Shulchan Aruch that a kameya mumcha, you're allowed to carry on Shabbos, because it's protection for you. If it's not mumcha, then you're not allowed to wear on Shabbos. So the Friedrich Rebbe told this chassid, this rav, that it's about time you realize that it's not a problem. What?
If you find a diamond, cannot be off.
Diamond? No, but if it's in a setting, if the diamond's in a setting, it's not Muktza. Because then it was designated as a jewelry piece. But if you find a loose diamond, just a diamond, that probably is Muktza Kiss. What?
If it's cut and it's for jewelry, it's muktzah.
It wasn't made the jewelry yet. It could be. I don't know. It's very possible. But in the setting, for sure, it's not Muktza.
But we should leave it just not big enough.
No, you can kick it off to the side a little bit, or stand there a whole Shabbos. Depends how much it's worth.
How about if you cover it like with the paper or the napkin or something, can I still pick it up?
You're moving the Muktza.
You're covering it.
You're moving the Muktza. There's even a bigger shaila. Are you allowed to even cover Muktza? There's a famous Gemara in Pesachim. The Gemara says, if you find chametz on Pesach, Yom Tif, it's Muktza. So what do? Kefal of keli. You cover it with a keli to remember you shouldn't come to eat it. So Taisus in Pesachim asks the question, there's a din that when you cover Muktza with the keli, that keli becomes Muktza. So l'cher, Taisus asks, you're making a keli Muktza on Yom Tif, and Shabbos, are you allowed to do it? And Taisus, whatever. Machashina zon meisem mechabeva mayin kim shvla gaut teira, pchinam net ashim erot, good boch, zak sofi